Life will find a way. The Goldblum Principal. William Hovey Smith, 2024. These were lines famously spoken by Jeff Goldblum in the movie Jurassic Park. And what he was referring to was genetic engineered life having unintended consequences, which can happen. Now, I'd like to illustrate that point in a more practical way and also discuss the limitations of it. I've been clearing around my antebellum home, and it has a patch infested with poison oak. And this stuff is decades and decades old, and I'm having to dig it out by the roots, and I'm really fighting with it, and it's coming back, and it's fighting back. And you'll see exactly how as we progress along. This pile of earth was dug 3 days ago. And the green plants you see are poison oak. I've been attempting to remove decades-old poison oak vines from next to the utility area of my house. But yeah, I dug out the big vines all right. And I sieved all this through a 1/4-inch sieve. But somehow, I've still got poison oak in that pile. How? Those small groups of berries on the chimney foot are falling from the vines that have already climbed up the chimney. And I have not pulled these vines down. So they are dropping seed all over the place. And this is what is sprouting and making the new plants. Although poison oak will also sprout from the roots if I leave any in the ground, and that's why I'm doing the sieving. Before we continue our backfill here, there is another example of life I'd like to give you. And that is these bulbs right here. These were planted a century ago at least, and perhaps nearly 2 centuries ago, originally next to this house. And these are spider lilies, and they are back against the house wall here, and at all times were under the eaves of the house, and so had to fight through drought as well as competition from this poison oak, which you'll see more of later, and nonetheless have managed to survive. Yeah, there was goldenrod in here. There were 3 varieties of vines, and as well as a very thick vegetation in front of it of all sorts. But they managed to make it. And so we're going to salvage these and sell maybe a few and probably give most of them away. But these are interesting plants that are sprouting and blooming right now. And I'll show you some in a little bit. Well, sometimes it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back. I found a deep root. This is poison oak. And it goes back to underneath my chimney seat there. And so I have followed it all the way down to there. And so now we can remove that piece at least. I had to pull it out from underneath my gas lines, but we did that successfully. So again, had I left this, yeah, this poison oak would have sprouted up from this piece of root. In our Life Will Find a Way theme, we've started on our 2nd bucket of bulbs. I've already collected an entire pail full. My question is, are all those the same species, just different size? They may be all spider lilies, or they may be a couple of varieties of bulbs in there. Don't know. So I'm going to put a few in a pot to find out. Now what they're resting on are poison oak roots that I pulled out since I burned the last 2 days ago. Those are iris, and in particular are white flags. And they have already bloomed this year. Now they have a different bulb type, but they're not able to compete very well in shade. And they were largely shaded out and actually killed by the poison oak and progressive other vegetations. We've moved some of the soil back in, and because we have continuous fall of the fruit from the poison oak, put down a little screen to catch some of it, because this will fall as long as these vines are up this chimney. And so this will enable me to collect at least a few of them very easily. Support this channel by buying my outdoor books, business books, novels, and recommending them to your local libraries. I've had a variety of experiences and written a variety of books over the decades. In keeping with this theme, there is one thing I'd like to remind you of. If you do deer hunting, like I did in backyard deer hunting, and I might travel all over the country, one thing not to do is to carry your local firewood to a distant destination, because you're carrying all kinds of pests, wanted and unwanted, with them, mostly unwanted. And so this is how things like Dutch elm disease, pine beetles, and many other pests are exported throughout their natural range. Now this is true with imported stuff too. Any plants coming from outside of North America are even being transported within. So don't move your pretty little plants from North Carolina all the way up to Idaho without disinfecting the soil or doing it from seed. So you hope to not transport any noxious pests out of their home range to infest the whole entire world, as they have done. The red flower is a spider lily. To give you a closer view, yeah, they're very interesting plants. Now they'll bloom like that, and then through the winter we'll have green vegetation, leaves come up, and then they'll stay and finally die off in the spring. I'm going to do a trial planting in this pot just to see if these are all the same species. A little one here. And this one. Why not? This particular bulb, which was apparently buried deep in the soil, is certainly making heroic efforts to reproduce and bloom, including starting a second little auxiliary up here closer to the surface. All life certainly can expect to undergo some adversities. And this was the spot where that soil pile was that I showed you earlier in the video. And yeah, now the grass has been bleached out because it had that trampoline sheet over the top of it. Well, it will revive. Yeah, all of us will go through something like that in our lives, in the sense that, yeah, we each gonna have adversity, but yeah, often until the very end indeed, we make it through. I've taken the sieve, the soil, and spread it back over in here. And now what I'm going to do with this trampoline sheet is I'm going to lay it down on top, and that will attempt to suppress some of the sproutings from the seed from the poison oak that's falling. In case you're wondering what that shape is all about, it was designed to lift large individuals who have fallen, and I could do that with a tripod and pulleys, and that were served as a bosun's chair. I have a problem here that my air conditioning unit is held up by that cedar post, and I don't want to disturb it very much or dig too close around it until I have built an altogether new frame to support that air conditioner. You can see how the bulbs and the iris and the roots from the poison oak are competing fiercely just for ground space. Yeah, these needed to be separated decades ago. I've reached the point where I'm going to have to start sieving this soil to make room so I can chase these long roots like this one, or these, which are out there in the yard somewhere. And I wanted to show you this iris plant, and these have some of the longest roots I think I've ever seen on an iris. And this is a white flag, although all iris look basically the same. So I'm going to be continuing chasing these roots and getting them out and complete this whole base here. And this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time. And be very careful about what you plant around your house.